Welcome to another episode of OG55. We got the one, the only Mr. Drew, the Disney dude in the house. Today we're talking about Imagineering. We're talking the new Monsters Land construction. We're talking about Destination D. We have a ton of stuff. We have a stack show today. We got Drew, the Disney dude. Get ready, buckle up. We got 3.5 hours to go. Up next on OG55. Let's get it. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. We got Drew, the Disney dude, in the house. We're talking all kinds of stuff today. Drew, it is always good to have you on the show, my friend. How you doing?
We have a lot to talk about. I'm ready. I feel like I know I say this every single time I come on with you guys, but I feel like every time we talk, there's like something that I actually want to talk about. Here we are. Happens once again. So Disney must be watching. So
they're watching. Where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Yeah, I feel like I'm on every platform now. I've even started posting on Facebook and Threads, and I'm literally everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, literally any social media platform. Drew the Disney dude. I'm doing more now. So Disney's awesome. Doing more. I'm doing more.
There we go. We always love more Drew. Thank you for joining, Drew. The Italiano is here along with his chest hair. George, how you doing?
Doing good. It's always a great time coming on, especially when we have Drew the Disney dude on, because we basically have our Disney talk marathon, which I absolutely love. But if any case you'd like to find me on social media, you could do so right here on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you could also find me on my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There he is. All right, gentlemen, let's get the party started. Actually, I want to start off with Imagineering. And this topic, let's do that. Let's start off with Imagineering. You brought this topic to my attention, Drew, and I think it's a fascinating one. Imagineering shift from corporate to personal, the Bruce Vaughn interview. If you want to go ahead and elaborate that and set the table, we'll kind of dive into this, because I think there's a lot to be kind of like to kind of chew on with this particular topic.
Yeah, so like I don't say this in like an arrogant way, but something I take a lot of pride in as a creator is following things closely so I know what I'm talking about. And lately, I think since D23 last August up until now, I have noticed a significant shift in Disney's social media strategy. From the parks content, they're doing a lot more general things on Disney Parks blog, kind of guides for the general family visiting the parks. But what I love more is the Imagineering content, where they're actually kind of leaning into the personalities of the people creating the experiences that are here for decades. And if you go on Walt Disney Imagineering's Instagram, whenever they do a new project, whenever it opens, they'll do the entire like project team photo, and then they'll like circle certain Imagineers and they say, this person did this person did that. And I think that this is incredible effort from the social media team. But in my opinion, everything starts with leadership. And sure enough, in early 2023, Bruce Vaughn returned to Walt Disney Imagineering. He left because of Bob Chapek. And Josh D'Amaro's made out to be this villain online sometimes, but he's not. He came back to Imagineering because Josh D'Amaro called him and made him an offer. And shout out to Disney's PR team and Lou Mangello, because Lou Mangello just posted a 45-minute long interview with Bruce Vaughn the other day. And that is my favorite interview that I've ever listened to when it comes to Disney. Kind of just hearing how real of a person Bruce Vaughn is. And again, this is the president and chief creative officer. Every single project right now, Cruise Line, Epic Games, Fortnite, Disney Parks, is under Bruce Vaughn. So when you're hearing someone like Bruce Vaughn saying, yeah, I kind of just fell into being an executive I never wanted to be, and I'm just here now doing my best, like that's a real leader. So to answer your question, yeah, I love this shift from corporate to personal, because at the end of the day, like I said, there are people working on these projects. And I feel like it's a perfect topic to talk about because people like to shit on Disney. It's just popular now. It gets the clicks, it gets the views. But whenever Disney does something good, it never gets talked about, right? Because it doesn't fit that narrative. So you guys are the perfect people to talk to because we have open minds.
And Drew, let me ask you before we kind of dive into like the nitty gritty, like with the interview with Bruce Vaughn and what have you. Some things that you just touched upon right now, a question for you, because we're coming closer to the finish line with the CEO race. And right now, D'Amaro is kind of a little bit of the headliner for it. You know, it's not set in stone, but it looks like he may become the new CEO. Could we possibly see that if tomorrow does move into the CEO position, someone's going to have to take over for parks? Could you see Bruce Vaughn moving into that role?
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I don't think he's going to, because I think that he is such a perfect leader for the people working on the projects. I view Bruce Vaughn as a creative leader, whereas someone like Josh Damar or Bob Iger or Jill Estorino, who manages the international parks, or Thomas Maslam at Disneyland, like those are more of the business people, where like they're making decisions based on what is good for the guests and also what makes that return on investment. So I view Bruce Vaughn as a creative, so I hope he doesn't leave. But I think those names like Jill Estorino, who doesn't come up a lot, but she's manages all the international parks like Hong Kong, Disneyland. They're doing a lot of good things out there. Thomas Maslam, he was in Disney Signature Experiences leadership, and now he's running Disneyland. I think he would be a phenomenal fit because he's just a real person. I don't personally want Jeff Volley to take over. I don't think he would. In my opinion, I think Jeff Volley could do a lot more connecting with the fans. I just think he's a little too distant. I have nothing against him as a person. But I think someone that is leading the parks, it's the damn Disney parks. Look at Josh D'Amaro and how charismatic he is, right? You destroy Muppet Vision 3D and Tom Sawyer Island Rivers America, and somehow the fans are still walking up to him taking selfies on Disneyland's 70th anniversary, right?
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, I mean, I do think Josh will be CEO in my mind. Josh kind of already is CEO. Like I'm viewing it that confidently. I would almost bet on it at this point. But I hope that Bruce Vaughn stays as the leader of Imagineering, just because I think he's perfect. And as these Imagineers are kind of getting into a rhythm for the next 5-6 years, to shift to leadership again like that would be horrible in my mind. So I hope that the shakeup isn't major and that everything can just keep going, because the train's on the right track, the ship's headed in the right direction, and I don't want that to change.
Yeah,
so
and it's
interesting is we don't have to hit the track switch.
No, absolutely not. Track switch. Now, here's the thing that's interesting about this Imagineering, kind of going from the corporate to the personal, right? It's sort of a return to form, I think, for Imagineering. We talked a little bit about this pre-show, but there was a day when fans really fell in love with certain Imagineers, right? Like Joe Rohde has a huge fan base, right? Kevin Rafferty. That was. You know what I'm saying? And so it was kind of like the thing where it was like there were these superstar Imagineers. And I think it was like during the Bob Chapek era where Disney was like, you know what, we don't want to do the superstar Imagineer thing anymore. It's going to be more of just like this kind of almost like this faceless entity at Disney. And I think that was to a detriment to Imagineering. I think having these kind of superstars like a Joe Rohde at Imagineering helps fans connect. I know when I was a kid, I was really into the animation. That's what got me into Disney. And I would watch all the behind the scenes, making of specials for Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, all that stuff. And part of the love for that was like, oh man, my favorite animator, Glenn Keane or Andres Deja, right? That makes it that personalizes your fandom a little bit, like the geniuses behind the stuff that you love. And I think that goes for Imagineering as well. So I'm glad that they're doing this. I'm glad there's a return to that personalization, sort of getting into the mindset of these Imagineers, getting to know them as people, letting them stand out and kind of have a voice and not just be this corporate sort of gobbledygook stuff that doesn't really connect with anybody. So I think it's a brilliant move, and I'm glad that Disney really is coming back to it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. And speaking of Joe Rohde that you had mentioned, I reposted a tweet from someone online called Drew the Disney Dude. I don't know who that is, but it said
I heard that guy's a Disney shill.
Yes. Bruce Vaughn says Joe Rohde is still serving as an advisor to Walt Disney Imagineering. And I quote, "I call him Professor Rohde. We still have him as an advisor, mentoring people because he's so good and passionate," end quote.
Yep. It's fantastic.
Not to cut you off, Chris, but when I was listening to that interview with Lou Mongello, I'm like, this is so good, because something that I think that this isn't against anyone. I just think it's kind of a reality of sometimes when people are doing their jobs, they don't have time to think outside the box because they're doing their job. And something that I view social media with is, I think social media is a lot easier than people make it out to be. And I don't think Disney's PR team was necessarily expecting me to pull those quotes and then post them on Twitter when Lou Mongello did that interview. Like, Lou's been doing podcasting for 20 years. He's a great guy. He 100% deserves to get that interview. And I think they did it just kind of as like a thank you and kind of testing out new things when it comes to PR, which I love, kind of lines up with everything we've been talking about. But then I can take my following on Twitter and listen to that thing and take the highlights and post it and spread that message even further. And that's what I do love about social media, even though social media is very toxic. It's a cesspool most of the time.
Yeah.
Is that when you have that interview, because it exists, because that interview was done, that then gives us the opportunity to get that rare insight into what they're doing. And now we know that Joe Rohde is still on board. We know, much more about Bruce Vaughn as a person and how chill he is, and just talking for 40 minutes like that. We know that Walt Disney Imagineering's Illusioneering Lab has returned with Daniel Joseph leading that. Like, that's massive. The fact that they have resources going into just working on illusions for the future projects, like, that's huge. And he just casually mentions it in their interview. But again, if that interview didn't happen, we don't know that. So I think there's so much potential with just talking to people and then taking those unique angles from that. So I'm really glad it happened. If you guys can pick up on it, it's very exciting, very encouraging, and optimistic stuff.
Yeah, and one of the big issues, we have a friend of the channel, Jay Shear, contributor here at OG55. Love Jay, but he's been saying for a long time now that, like, one of the biggest problems Disney has had in recent years is the PR. The PR has been kind of bad, and and so they're kind of getting back to like the old school Disney PR, which is good, But I want to ask you, Drew, because Universal has an interesting take with PR, right? They're pretty aggressive out there, like on Twitter and stuff, man. They be throwing shots at Disney and like these funny little jabs and stuff like that. What's your take on that? I mean, obviously Disney and Universal are two very different brands.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you think an approach like that is good for a company like Universal? Or do you feel like maybe Disney should even get into that stuff? I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Jay is the director, right? Did he do the short film? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure I'm thinking of the right guy. Because when I was watching one of your guys' things, I looked at his short film and the trailer looked cool. But I mean, if I said this on Twitter, I'd get attacked. I think what Universal does is very cheesy and very unprofessional. It's like edgy. It kind of leans into like this. I don't know. Edgy is the first word that comes to mind. Like, it just feels universally. Whereas if it's like Universal does it, and everyone's like, oh, look at them. Oh, I'll go Universal. They're the best. But if Disney Parks posted, we actually have 6 parks, something about how Universal calls Volcano Bay a theme park when it's not. Oh. If Disney made some shot at them about that, everyone would be like, oh, this is why Disney sucks now. Go woke, go broke. Oh, you guys suck. You guys are horrible. Like, we would never hear the end of it. It would probably end up on mainstream media, right? But Universal does it, and it gets 2,000 likes, and everyone's making, oh, good call, good call. I understand why it's being done, probably because the people running the social media accounts are around my age, like in their 20s. And it's like, oh, we can do this and get easy engagement bait. Like, it works. I don't blame them for doing it. But I think it's wildly unprofessional, especially when Universal's leadership and creative talent is not that. Like, you look at Mark Woodbury, you look at Karen Irwin, all their leaders right now, they are very real people. Like, the video that they released, I think it was earlier this year, talking about like Epic Universe and beyond. That was a great video. Like, it was a really good video where they kind of at the time were like, oh yeah, we're already working on stuff after Epic Universe opens. All the directing, the quality of the video itself was phenomenal. Even what they're doing with Universal Creative now, like, I like their people that they have. They just seem cool. Like, I like the product that they're delivering. I love Epic Universe. I cannot wait for annual passes to go on sale because I don't feel like it's open yet without having an annual pass. Yeah, I wish they'd stop that stuff because I feel like if you want to be, Mark Woodbury is talking about we want to be the premier destination. I don't think you can really call yourself a premier destination if you're attacking, or not attacking, but making these snarky comments towards someone who is helping you. Like, Disney's, I think behind the scenes, Disney and Universal's executives very well know the fact that them doing more raises the tide and they all make more money. The more people that come to Orlando, the more people that are going to walk through the gate of your theme park.
Well, yeah, 100% true. And I don't know if you're I think you're too young, but like back in the day when Nintendo and Sega were going head to head, Sega was really doing the whole Universal thing. Like, they were making fun of like their slow. Oh yeah. Oh dude. It's on like some of the old commercials are still on YouTube, but they would say like Sega does what Nintendo don't, stuff like that. Wow. I mean, they were really taking shots and they were just really mocking Mario and saying our guy Sonic is better and he's cooler and the whole thing. Very universally, as you would say, right? Yeah. And look where Sega is today.
Yep.
I mean, it's a shell of its former self. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that typically doesn't really work. You know what I'm saying? Even like, for example, the fast food wars, you know, you have McDonald's and Burger King. And Burger King is more the edgy kind of universal brand. And they always take shots at McDonald's. But you never see McDonald's taking shots at Burger King. When you're on top, you don't need to do that. And I think that if Universal wants to be top dog eventually and even beat Disney, you're going to have to start acting like number one.
Yeah.
If you're going to always act like number two, you're always going to be number two.
Yeah, that little brother energy, as some would say. Yeah, I agree. The only time I've ever, not to go off topic too much, but the only time I've ever loved a corporate just having fun with their account is what Wendy's did on Twitter, if you guys remember, where they're like, leave a comment and we'll roast you. But they set it up on their own. And then that set up the narrative for them doing it more in the future because they made it clear what they wanted to do once. So when they did it again, it wasn't a shock, right? That was the only time I ever thought that a social media company kind of going off the professional route was fun, was Wendy's. Because you could almost picture Wendy as like a character saying it. But when I'm looking at Universal with delivering a world-class experiences like Lost Coaster, Hagrid's Epic Universe, and then I'm seeing this, it's like, it just leaves a silly taste in my mouth.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too because, and then we'll dip into some Hollywood studios, but it's interesting too because, you know, when I see Universal doing the more serious PR stuff, like remember when they had every like few weeks in the lead up to Epic Universe, they would have like these maybe 5 to 7 minute videos of each land, and they would talk. Good. Oh, they were so good, bro. All the creatives, they would talk about, interview it, and it felt very Disney. It felt like, wow, this is a premier resort. This is a premier thing.
I would not to cut you off, but I would go as far as saying it. What they were doing, like before Disney kind of started doing more Imagineering episodes recently, was better because those were consistent and the production quality was of the same standard, right? And that's also a rare time where we got those behind the scenes talks with Universal's people because they do it even less than Disney does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the future of DHS, Hollywood Studios. We got some big news the other day. Animation Courtyard. It's still going to be an Animation Courtyard, but they're going to plus it, and they're going to give us a lot more cohesiveness than what we see now. We're going to get some homages, some love to the Burbank studio out here in California, which is pretty cool. Dopey Drive and all that good stuff. And they're really going to turn that whole little area into a kind of like a love letter to Disney animation. What do you say about this decision, Drew? Because there was a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation. Is it going to be Incredibles Land? Is it going to be Zootopia? And they kind of went back. They kind of did a return to form almost. And they're like, no, we're going to take what we kind of have there now, and we're going to double down on it. Was that a good move?
I think so. I want to see what George thinks first before I say what I'm going to say.
Yeah, so for me, I remember when I saw like the concept art and the breaking news, and I thought, wow, if I would have guessed that, I would have lost that bet. I would have never thought that they were going to go down that route. But I do love how, they pay tribute to the actual studio here in Burbank. When you go into the entranceway where it says like the Walt Disney Studios, I know a lot of people are poo-pooing on the...
They're filming for Oswald at Disneyland. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. They have
okay,
a little Oswald stand-in.
I love it.
Back to our regular scheduled programming.
No, that's fine. I was wondering what it was because I heard Jon Favreau was down in Disneyland today, and I was wondering why. And I was thinking maybe it was something for Lucasfilm, for like Mando and Grogu. But I didn't even think to even say for Oswald. So that's a good thing. I'm glad they're finally giving Oswald some love because, I mean, aside from after the fact they got the rights back after 90 years, he only had a meet and greet right in the entranceway of DCA.
Yeah.
So looks like we're going to be getting some news coming for the next couple D23s on that for sure.
If they show a little teaser of this at Destination D, that'd be so cool.
Oh, I would love that. That'd be amazing.
I'm sorry.
Well, and that's the thing too.
You have this giant film rig, this guy up here, and then you just have little baby Oswald.
He's like this big. Oh, look at that. That's hilarious. I love it. I love that he's getting his own show, and I hope it blows up because I think DCA is really a perfect park for Oswald. It's that era of Walt's life when you first walk in that Buena Vista Street. I would love to see kind of like a old school Hollywood Oswald dark ride in DCA.
That'd be so cool.
And that would go great actually in Hollywood Studios as well. But go ahead, George. Continue your
point. And before I do, and yeah, that would. And I think honestly, if they were to keep some of Hollywood land like off of Pandora, maybe Oswald can kind of salvage that brink between where Buena Vista Street is and that stretch along Hollywoodland. And yeah, you're right. It would go very well into Disney's Hollywood Studios. And I think kind of like tying it all together, that's where making the studios was a smart move, because then they could bring Oswald over in that area, because it's more so they're going to kind of keep the interior kind of the same route where you have like the meet and greets and everything, but there's going to be a storyline behind it. It's kind of taking tribute to the Once Upon a Studio. So it's like after the animators leave the building, it's now the characters are out to play and meet the guests and everything. And I think that's very creative. And I wasn't too sure of what they were going to do with that area, because after the fact, The Little Mermaid came back, and I'm like, okay, how are they doing this? So, I mean, it's very smart. I think the fact that the animation building went away completely, I think was a downright sin. It was blasphemy. Because I mean, some great movies were literally created there. Lilo and Stitch, Mulan, Brother Bear. I mean, they were literally conceived in that studio. So I think it's great, honestly. And I think a lot of people were thinking, you know, what route are they going with Disney's Hollywood Studios? And I think by them doing this, they're kind of solidifying it's in a way still going to stay as studios. I don't really think they're going to go away from that. But I think it's great. And I think also too, the Disney Junior, I believe, is going away. A lot of people don't know fully like what's going there, but I'd love to see Bluey. I think Bluey would be awesome to go in there as well.
Bluey's kind of busy though. I think he's running for president. But what say you? What say you, Drew? What do you think, brother?
Yeah, this decision. It's funny. I woke up sometimes, like I'll just check Disney Parks blog, you know, because they'll release things at certain times, and it was like almost clicking over to 10:01. I'm like, oh no, drop at 10 a.m. And then I refresh one more time, and it says new animation experience coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios, and I said, holy effing shit! Like. Like it's because like I refreshed it right when it was dropped, so my mind goes to holy crap, they're actually doing something with Animation Courtyard, and then to I need to post this immediately on Twitter. But like I cannot wait for this. This is such a perfect thing. My first thought was this might not even be permanent, and then I'm like, this should be permanent. Like I don't want a single IP to land here. I'd much rather have this for the next 20 years. Actually introducing new generations to the magic of Disney animation. Like you said, Chris, like you said, George, is such a classic part of Disney. It's so important. It's had so much success. Like without these animated films, you don't have the company that you have today. People love it at California Adventure, from actually drawing the characters to meeting the characters. So to take an area that is very underutilized, it's funny. People said the Tom Sawyer Island and Rivers of America were underutilized. This is what I view as underutilized, not that this is underutilized.
Oh, and I do have to add, as I was saying before, and I know a lot of guests and fans are poo-pooing the fact that they're getting rid of the arch that says Hollywood Studios.
No, I think it's the right move. Going. I am too.
Honestly, I find it kind of like redundant to have that there. I feel like I would rather have it more breathable, more open space, more connected to where like the entranceway would be like adjacent to the Grauman's Chinese Theater, even though I don't fully agree of what's in the Grauman's Chinese Theater, but I'll save that for another conversation.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've only been to Disney World once, right? That used to be the working studio with the animation building. So it made sense to have another archway. Now you're entering in like a working studio, right? Is that kind of like the idea? But yeah, that's long and gone now. So now it feels like just another sign to the park almost. Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
And the fact that that archway used to look a lot cooler than it does now. Like it kind of got what I call the Disney resort treatment, where it gets all the theming ripped apart, which I don't like at all. Like you look at some of these resort refurbishments and you're just like, what were they thinking? And that's kind of what happened to the arch, where they just painted it gray and white, and it's just the classic font. Like there's no theming on it whatsoever. And I think that this is kind of something the Muppet Vision suffered from, but how these parts of the park feel separated. Like it doesn't feel like a whole circle. And by eliminating that arch, well, what's back here? And the fact that you're going to be able to see the sorcerer hat kind of is like the weenie that's going to draw people in. It's perfect. So that's one of those things where the diehard fans love it, because it feels like old Hollywood Studios. It feels like classic Burbank, HQ building. Whereas the general family just is like pretty blue hat, something's back there. I'm walking over there. And then they discover this whole area. It also makes the whole Little Mermaid marquee a lot more visible. You can't even see the Little Mermaid marquee until you're literally 5 feet away from it because the arch blocks it. So they spent years working on this like incredible new show. Like, let's get people back here. Yeah. So I'm all for it.
And this is great for young kids and families too, because I feel like Disney's Hollywood Studios doesn't have a whole lot for young kids. I mean, you have the Toy Story Land, but again, you need to still be a certain height to do Slinky Dog, you know, and you have the Aliens Rolling Saucers and Toy Story Mania. But I mean, it's nice that they have like a land dedicated for not just for young kids, but it's a land that would draw them to that. No pun intended. Draw to that area of the park.
I agree. No, yeah, that's the one thing I do like about Runaway Railway is because it's such a perfect like centerpiece for families. Everyone can go on it. But like now, kind of like what you said, George, the fact that you're having a whole animation area. Imagine Runaway Railway at the back of this land is like our version of Toontown. But this would be a unique Toontown where you're not just stepping into the cartoon world, you're learning about how the cartoon world is made, and then, you get to go check out this demonstration that goes wrong. Like, it could have been a unique storyline for Runaway Railway. It stings, because what I'll always say about the Great Movie Ride is that I was young when it closed, so I didn't get to fully appreciate it. Like, I remember being terrified of the guns and the alien scene. Like, I have memories of it. I enjoyed it. But with the Great Movie Ride, what kills me about it closing is that Disney is so much about IP now and that ROI. To the point where Josh D'Amaro said they're getting a 3-time ROI. So like the $30 billion they're spending right now, they're expecting $90 billion gross back, which is insane to think about. But the Great Movie Ride, if you changed it to just the Disney Movie Ride, you could have put like 10 IPs in one damn ride in the center of the park. And that's where I'm like, oh, because
if they could have held on to it just for a little longer, I think honestly,
it would have happened.
The ride would have been safe. I feel like under Chapek's ruling, I think that was just a horrible knee-jerk reaction to say, okay, let's get this out so we could put this in. And I think if they really worked on it, I do believe that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway still could have done very well at the studios. But if that was the case, that they were bringing the animation courtyard kind of back to the animation style, put Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in the expansion pad behind where the studios would be. It would be a great transition because you then have the animation building that's separating the animation world to the real world. I mean, come on, it was genius.
It's like an appetizer,
I'm telling you. I mean, and then you have still the Great Movie Ride. You could have made it a full Disney ride, or they have the Fox properties. They could have went a little bit more edgier with that. It's like, Disney, come on. I mean, you listened to me with the red car trolley. Could you have released it?
That's in addition to the whole Epcot transformation, which we'll talk about with D23 coming up. The Great Movie Ride's removal for not replacing it with multiple IPs in one building is, in my opinion, one of the greatest misses in the history of the company. Because like you said, with Fox and like, imagine like The Simpsons in Hollywood Studios, but no one complains because it's just one scene, right? Like that would have been cool. Like that would be a way to bring other IPs into the parks.
And that's where The Simpsons would have worked
perfectly
in a theme park environment. Rather than doing a full Springfield land, just do one attraction. But instead of doing it like the Great Muppet Movie Ride, you would just do what the Muppets would do, but just do it with The Simpsons, because it's like a paradox. It's like they have that way that it can be kind of quirky and slapsticky and all that. They could have made it work.
Yeah, it kills me because, like you said, we were probably so close. Because, like, Bob, it's funny, when I was a little bit younger, like I said, I didn't appreciate things, and I also was more like I'm very much an open-minded person. But as I've learned through the grapevine, is that the creatives really didn't like Bob Chapek, and they're very glad that he's gone. To the point that we lost Bruce Vaughn, and we almost lost Josh D'Amaro too, which isn't talked about a lot.
And I have to say, and nothing against him as a person. I don't know.
Yeah, he was too businessy for a creative company.
But honestly, I really couldn't take him in the company when he was chairman of parks. I'm like, ugh. I mean, because I was so used to Tom Staggs, and I loved how
he was great.
I loved Tom Staggs. And then we got Chapek in, where he was just like too suit and tie kind of thing. And then when Iger said, okay, we're moving him to CEO, and I'm thinking, oh dear God, like, what is this going to be like? And sure enough, we got what I expected, but I feel like there was a short period of time where Chapek needed to be there. I mean, for the circumstances of like what went on in 2020, you had to have a numbers kind of guy to get us through. So I felt like Chapek was there for a certain thing for a certain amount of time, but everything else, I wish that he didn't touch.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I fully agree. I think that if he was literally just there from like February through July, like just as they got through the trenches, and once the parks reopened, you're like, all right, bye, Bob, go retire. I've been like, cool. I honestly think that Chapek saved the company sometimes. Which again, like I have a lot of hot takes, but I don't talk about them because again, if I posted on Twitter, I would be canceled within minutes, and everyone would forget about all the news that I report. I'd be the horrible person. But yeah, I think very differently from people, which is kind of lines up even to like the attractions that I enjoy in the parks. But yeah, no, I fully agree, and it's the future of the park I think is bright. Like a lot of people are like, oh, they're just doing a reimagining and retheming over and over with Hollywood Studios, but I look at myself through the eyes of a general family visiting Hollywood Studios, and 5 years from now, that park's going to be a lot more interesting than it is right now, regardless of what the diehards think about.
Well, yeah, and the diehards are like, they should listen to the diehards, and we are very loyal fans. But at the end of the day, it's for the normies. I mean, that's the bulk of the audience are the normies, So it's kind of interesting. But it kind of showed you though with that great movie ride, getting that CEO spot is it's so important to get it right.
It is,
because you can have long-lasting ramifications whoever you put in there, and so yeah, it's crazy. We should find that out pretty soon. I think they said early 2026, so we're probably like less than a year.
I'm ready. Whenever they drop like the first earnings call of 26, I'm gonna be like, bam, that's it. Like that is the call where it's gonna be like 8 a.m. in the morning. We're gonna be like be seeing like the CNBC interviews, like all the freaking investors, and that's gonna be a morning to remember. But I don't think it would be anyone
8 a.m. It'll be 8 a.m. on your time.
On my time,
5 a.m. our time. It'll be OG's 10th cup of coffee by then.
Yeah, I'm an early bird, Drew.
If that call suddenly moves back to a later time to accommodate the West Coast, then we will know.
And we'll see. But speaking of Hollywood Studios, we got monstrous construction. Okay, very interesting. Stage 1 demo for the coaster.
It might be gone completely by the time this video is uploaded, which is crazy. But hey, they said they're going to work on these things, and people don't want to believe them. Here we are. Yeah, they're moving and shaking with monsters. What do you think about the progress so far? I know they removed the Piggy fountain, right, Miss Piggy? Yeah. The Miss Piggy fountain was gone almost immediately. The Kermit statues were gone in Bio Reconstruct, the aerial photography guy. If you guys don't know, he's like the most like incredible person in our community. His impact goes so far than people realize. It's crazy. Like I think about like Alicia's videos with Epic Universe and how her knowledge wouldn't have been able to be used if it wasn't for those aerial photos, and how like that blending kind of put Epic Universe on the map from 2 people. It's insane.
Sure.
But yeah, what I think is, I've talked to Jack at DSOI Newscast about this, but what's kind of fascinating about this is how Mike at Blog Mickey posted that little permit a couple weeks ago showing the outline for the Monsters building and how massive it was, which was really cool. Like, it's really rare to see a building outline that early on. And then just a few weeks later, they already have the entire outline of the building done, like in the park, and they haven't even like put a shovel in the ground yet to go vertical. Like, that's not common by any means. But I'm not complaining. Like, I'm one of the people that I'm never going to pretend that I love Muppet Vision 3D as much as most people did. And I think sometimes my posts on Twitter are misconstrued as like I love the Muppets, whereas I'm posting that content for the Muppets fans. Like, not all my content is about me, right? Like, I was there on the last day for 8 hours because I knew people wanted that documented. If I only went for an hour, I would have been okay with that. But I'm like, I need to be here posting because people want to see this. Like, this is something of value. So I never loved Muppet Vision. I enjoyed it. I always laughed at it. It always put a smile on my face. But when they're like Monsters Inc. Land is replacing it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to prefer this. Like, that's just me. But yeah, I'm pumped to see the construction. Like, they said 2025, and my initial thought was like October when the new fiscal quarter hits, because we know that they're already doing Tropical Americas and, you know, everything with Magic Kingdom. But it seems like this is such a cost-effective, in a sense, reimagining, because most of these buildings are already here. The only new thing you're really building is the roller coaster and like a facade for Harryhausen's. So from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. But I'm more curious on if we kind of get that opening time frame at D23. But I'm happy now.
Well, you know, what's interesting too, Drew, is that you've talked a lot on this video and in the last video that we had you on, where the fans like to focus on the negative. They don't really give Disney credit when they do good.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of these projects, both East Coast and West Coast now, that they're really moving and shaking. Tropical Americas, it was like almost immediately, right? Monsters, they're really moving on Monsters right now. And even on the West Coast, they didn't delay Coco. They actually moved the construction timeline up, dude. How rare is that? So I think, look, I mean, we all have our criticisms of Disney, you know, and a lot of those criticisms are warranted. But we got to give them credit for when Josh got up there and he said, we're gonna really move on these projects. I mean, he's keeping his word on that. You know what I'm saying? So that's awesome. And Avatar breaking ground in early 2026.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that ties into the whole CEO thing too, because Josh is I think Josh is trying to make those big like transformational decisions right now. And when I just talked about this in my most recent video, but when I'm looking at the parks, cruise line, Epic Games, everything that he's doing, you know, even the Moral theme park in Abu Dhabi, everything that he's doing is what a board of directors would want to get that return on investment. And that's why I think we kind of got that very rare mention from him. It's like, oh yeah, we spend $1 billion, we're getting $3 billion back. Like no one ever talks about that.
Right.
So yes, there are personal gains here for him to take over the company, but I want someone who came from the parks leading the company. Like, yes, we're going to lose more projects that we love, but it's inevitable. Like Chapek was going to do it. Iger's going to do it. I'd rather have Josh doing it, where he's bringing back someone like Bruce Vaughn and allowing these Imagineers that retired to be mentors and advisors now. Like, I'm okay with losing Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America if I know what's coming is going to be 100 times better in love for decades to come. Like, it's just something that I have to accept. But a lot of people, I don't think, either don't think this deeply or they don't even have that understanding to think as deeply. And that's why I try to not let other people's thoughts change my mind. Because, again, with social media, it's always this bam, bam, bam. And sometimes it can just get exhausting. But when I'm looking at it through my own opinion, like, again, I'm not happy that the Liberty Bell's gone. I loved the Liberty Bell. But Bruce Vaughn is leading this. And Imagineers that worked on Camp Woodchuck at Tokyo Disneyland are on this. Wow. And again, I feel like there's even a balance there where we're getting Villains Land, which we asked for. So if they're going to make that tough choice, well, we're at least going to get something that we've asked for out of it. Like, no one asked for cars in Magic Kingdom. But if we get a 10-acre Villains Land, well, I'm not going to say no to that. So I don't know. I go back and forth all the time.
Yeah, and I was just at Disneyland recently, like last weekend actually, and just a few days ago, and I was in that San Francisco area, and I walked from there, and I walked into Cars Land, and every time I walk into Cars Land now, I think, okay, Florida is getting a version of this, not the same thing, but a version of this. I'm telling you, so many Florida fans that have not been to California and haven't really experienced Cars Land, they are not ready for this. It is gorgeous, and I think they're going to have this new land mimic that same quality. Okay. And it's going to be very different, you know, but it'll be that same quality, and it's going to blow minds, man. You're not going to be losing aesthetics. You're still going to get massive aesthetics. Dude, go to Cars Land at DCA. If there's any problems with that land, it's not aesthetics. Okay.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, this area has the potential to be pretty amazing, and it's like almost like this kind of like this love child of like Cars Land and Grizzly Peak, two of the coolest things at DCA,
which are next to each other too. Yeah, you're literally merging them. Yeah.
They're merging them. I think it's fantastic. So I'm excited for it. I think it has a lot of potential. So I hope people just keep an open mind. I do. I know it sucks losing stuff, but look, this company was founded on a guy who loved change. He said it. He wanted Disneyland to constantly evolve. It was a creative sandbox for him to play in, and to have this mentality that some fans have, where everything is untouchable and you should just leave it. It's been there for so long. Why are you touching it? It's like, that is like the most anti-Walt Disney thing you could possibly do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously Disney has to have, like, you know, you have to do it in a smart way. Obviously, you don't want to go in there with a bulldozer and just, you know, willy-nilly. Yeah. But change is vital to these parks, man. Vital. Agreed. It's in the DNA. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah, George.
I wanted to ask you too, because you brought up Villains Land.
Yeah.
More recently, that it was announced that Andreas Deja is actually now attached to the project, and knowing that he has worked on basically the 3 villains that was basically the biggest part of the Disney Renaissance era in animation. I mean, he was the lead supervisor for Gaston, Jafar, and Scar. And it's like, to have someone come in with that caliber. What's your take on that? Do you feel like that was a good idea? Do you think not? And if so, what do you think his role is? Do you think it's more of like psychologically getting the characters
right
within the land? Do you think there's going to be animation, like 2D animation throughout the land or in some of the attractions? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think, again, I'll connect it back to Bruce Vaughan. I know for a fact that J-Jaw came back because of Bruce Vaughan. But again, that wouldn't have happened if Josh D'Amaro didn't pick up the phone. So it's all this, what's the word, the conveyor belt, the dominoes, right? It's all connected. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I did watch your guys' video about this the other day where you were talking about it. I'm glad you mentioned it again, though, because, well, we don't want to talk about it too much because your viewers probably heard about it. I think it's incredible. And if I'm answering your question, I think it's to kind of get the essence of those characters right. Because, well, it might not necessarily be 2D animation. Like, I mean, there probably will be some form of animation in these rides, but I would expect it to be that more like 3D Cocomelon style that they've been doing recently, because it just seems like they like that in these attractions. I mean, Tiano's does have 2D animation with the Fireflies, though, so I could go either way. But I think when you're looking at someone like him on Villain's Land and in the Lion King ride out in Paris, I think it's more just making sure that these new generations get everything right. Like, because we're going to have animatronics. Like, they're already working on all these animatronics. And I think that when you're taking them and translating them from paper to the real world, a physical figure that's going to move for decades to come, having the man that literally sketched out these characters could give notes on the animation of the animatronics themselves to make them feel more real. Like, I could just imagine an episode of We Call It Imagineering specifically talking about animatronics and how Andreas Deja came in and really allowed these Imagineers to push the limits of what these Imagineers can do for the Lion King, you know? Just picture like the lift hill scene, like if that's the battle between Mufasa and Scar, right? And you have someone like him translating that 2D to paper. It's just so cool to think about. So the fact that not only was the idea there to bring him back, but that he was willing to, and the fact that he's enthusiastic about it, it's where we're seeing Imagineering post about him looking at the model for Paris, and to the fact that he's talking to Laughing Place about coming back. And it's, I don't know, I feel like a few months from now, maybe even after D23, I'll be like, the Liberty Bell? I don't care about the Liberty Bell anymore. Like, I want to love this so much. I want this to be something where it's like, oh yeah, we've got the best castle park in the world right now. It's no longer...
And that's really true to the fact of that the Imagineers have to deliver. Yes. Disney has to deliver because of the backlash that they've been getting on this. I think more than, honestly, the Muppets. I mean, people were, you know, in choice of words about the Muppets going away, but I think there was a much bigger heat with the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island. So whatever you're replacing it with, they have to come in like all hands on deck. No pun intended. Sorry to the Liberty Bell, but
yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that, and that's why I love talking to people with different opinions. Is I always say perception is reality, right? Because my perception has been Muppet Vision was more popular because it reached a general audience. Like, I think it was Tom Corliss who said it, and he's like, normal people outside of us who dive into everything, you know, all the nitty gritty. He's like, normal people were talking about Muppet Vision closing, like it was kind of in the mainstream media. Whereas I don't think that happened for Tom Sawyer Island, but there was a lot of people talking about this, and rightfully so, in my opinion. But even to the point that Bruce Vaughan talked about that, like they kind of made a joke about it, like, oh, I'm well aware of the fact when we change something, we're going to get that feedback. But he also said in that interview with Lou Mongello, he says, I understand it because it's coming from passion. And I'm like, that's good. The main person leading Walt Disney Imagineering understands where the frustration is coming from, which means that they can take that feedback and aim to make these projects as good as possible. But like you said, George, they have to deliver. And we need Cars Piston Peak in Villain's Land, which Villain's Land should be getting its official name at D23. I don't think it's just Villain's Land. It's kind of going to be like everything's subject to change, but kind of like how we have the Tropical Americas and Pueblo Esperanza is like the official name. I think we're going to be seeing something similar. But like that needs to be on the equivalent of Fantasy Springs. Like it can't be anything less. And everyone's always like, oh, well, Tokyo has the funding of OLC, blah, blah, blah. Well, Tokyo Disneyland isn't the most visited theme park in the world. Magic Kingdom is. So if anything, it needs to be better. Especially like a 15-acre space. Like this is it. Once you do it, it's done. Like they might never change this area again as far as Magic Kingdom goes, ever. And that's why I think they're really leaning into the national park, is because national parks are timeless. And you can you don't always have to attach this to Lightning McQueen and Mater 20 years down the road. It could just be cars going through a national park. So I even think that there's deeper thinking here. And like Disney villains are timeless. Like, come on. We've been talking about Disney villains since, the 40s and 50s. So I even think that there was decision making on putting Encanto over in Animal Kingdom, because originally they were talking about, Encanto and Coco and Magic Kingdom, but those aren't long-term fits in my mind, like 30, 40 years, whereas National Park and villains are. And I think that those are the things that people don't think about. But I mean, again, it's all very early. We don't know anything. Like we don't even have concept art for the second family riding cars. We don't know what the rides are in villains. Like they've done a lot of talking. And while I'm very optimistic, I'm not going to say that these are going to be great, or I'm not going to say, oh, people's concerns are stupid. I'm not going to say that when we don't know. Now, I want to walk out of that presentation at Destination D23 with all of my fears gone. But again, a lot of people who were on that media call for Cars a couple weeks ago, like I wasn't on that call, so I didn't see what they saw. All those people like Jack, Tom Corliss, Tom Bricker, Scott Gustin, like those guys, I think from what they saw, liked it. Like they're like, yeah, this looks cool. Like this is nice. This will fit in Magic Kingdom. This will be fun. But again, the public hasn't seen that. So until we see that, until we get the general consensus, I need that. I want all these details. And that's where D23 comes up.
And before we do move on, because you had mentioned Coco, because that was part of the original concept with a dual Coco and Encanto. And we know, obviously, Coco is going into DCA over here. But there was some thought process that Coco was going to go into Magic Kingdom.
There was
you still potentially see Coco going somewhere, if not in Magic Kingdom, but somewhere in Walt Disney World.
I personally want that to happen because I love Coco. I don't know. I've always felt like a connection to Coco, even though it's not my culture by any means. Like every time I've watched Disney Starlight, I love the Coco float the most. Like that's the float that makes me the happiest. Like the music, the colors Pepita takes off. It's just so beautiful. I don't know. If it was up to me, I would just get rid of the restaurant in the Mexico Pavilion and just expand that whole thing and build a new queue line and just turn that entire building you have now into a Coco ride. But again, I'd be getting rid of Grand Fiesta Tour, and I love those animatronics. So I would love Coco to show up somewhere, but I don't think Magic Kingdom is the place to do it.
Well, with DCA getting that boat ride, there's a good chance that it might eventually show up.
Yeah, because all those animatronics, I talked. No one's picked. Again, that's like, I don't know how to say it without sounding like an arrogant, SOB. But there's so many things.
Please do it. I do it all the time.
I don't know. There's so many things that Disney says, and it never gets picked up by the mainstream like Disney fan base. Mm-hmm. And like I feel like if all these details were known, that there would be a lot more of a positive talk. Like when Josh D'Amaro was on stage, I understand that there were so many things talked about that some things are going to fall through, but I feel like it's going to be brought up at some point and it just hasn't, almost a year later. And he's like, yeah, these animatronics are going to have to come to life in ways you have to see to believe. So I started thinking about it and I'm like, what could they do with Coco that would make animatronics to the point that he's mentioning this 4 or 5 years before it opens, right? Like there was a very clear thought that they're going to put this in the script for the presentation to put this as a drilling point. Like he talked about, they were taking inspiration from Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion, and that the animatronics are going to come to life in ways you've never seen before. 3 major points, long before it even opens. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Coco is skeletons. The only way to bring a skeleton to life is if you can see through a skeleton. So the Coco animatronics, well, it hasn't been put in writing, they're going to be see-through, right?
Yeah, that's going to be sick, bro.
Yeah, like you're going to be watching the Miguel performance. To your left, you have a skeleton cast dancing, and you can look through them and see the wall behind them. Like, that's going to be Tokyo Disneyland level. But again, no one is talking about that. If you asked 100 people at California Adventure today, are you aware of what Disney teased for Coco's animatronics? I guarantee you not a single one would say yes. And that's big. That's massive. That is like a groundbreaking breakthrough for technology for animatronics and Imagineering. But no one knows about it. And that's where I think, again, like we've talked about, I think there's so much room for making social media as not as hard as it seems. And if Disney were to lean even more into what they're doing, just go for it. Just push it. Just push it. Get the narrative back on track if they could. I don't know. That's why sometimes I'm like, man, I think I do want to work for this company, because I would love to bring in some outside ideas and just be like, let's do this.
Well, and that's why I love your perspective, Drew, because you listen to what they're saying. This is what a lot of the fandom has. This is what a lot of the fandom does not do, but you do it, which I love. You listen to what they say, and then you go, okay, new animatronics they've never done before. Okay, now your brain goes into this whole thing where it's like, well, we have this franchise. What kind of elements could they possibly bring? You kind of dive into it deeper and use your imagination to kind of figure out like what can possibly be done here. I think a lot of the fandom doesn't really do that. I think a lot of people lack that imagination to sort of look at the possibilities of what can be done here with a lot of these projects. You know what I'm saying? It's very surface level to a lot of people, unfortunately, you know?
Yeah,
it is very true. It really is. I mean, because a lot of times when we think of the Coco Dark Ride, we're thinking, okay, what's the ride vehicle going to be like? How big are the show scenes? You know, like what is the storyline? Is it going to be based off of the movie? Is it going to be based off of it? But that is actually genius to the fact of that. Are we really thinking about like how state of the art of these animatronics are going to be? That like it's going to be literally right in front of us, and boom, we can see right through their pelvic bone. I mean, genius.
Yeah.
Like it's like,
it's
I mean,
crazy.
have you really ever seen? You've seen animatronics that may have been like skeleton-like, but they use the I'm drawing a blank. The
Pepper's Ghost,
like the Pepper's Ghost, or like the projection mapping kind of thing.
Yep.
Make it look like the bones are there, but it really isn't. But if they actually literally piece by piece have like bone for bone, and they have these intricate wiring literally going through this thing, and it actually moves as if a skeleton would move, sort of like how they did with the Silly Symphony's skeleton dance. Like that would be, they actually see that in person. Like that would be
well, let's pivot. It's kind of on topic, but kind of off topic. Destination D is coming up.
Yeah,
it's coming up fast and furious. So what do you think, Drew? Is it possible that we get a deeper dive? Well, we'll start with DCA since we're kind of already talking about it. Do you think we'll get a deeper dive into this Coco attraction at Destination D? Are the animatronics something that we might even hear more about?
I don't think so. D23 out here, simply because of the fact that I feel like it's more of like a Walt Disney World based event. I don't know. I feel like Destination D23, this is kind of the first time that they've really expanded it and are going to try to put it on the map. And if it is a success this year, which it should be, because they sold out like very quickly. I personally don't know a single person that got tickets. So like, it seems like it's going to be a success. But I feel like we're going to get kind of like general updates. And maybe next year we'll get more of the meat and potatoes on Coco once it's gone vertical. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like once these projects have gone vertical and there's no more designing left to do, it's a lot easier to talk about them. I mean, like even to the point that we don't know what the Encanto ride system is, and they've been working on it since January. Like, I don't know. I'm personally okay with just updates because there's like 14 new rides in development right now worldwide. So if you just gave updates on all 14 things, that's still like an hour and a half worth of stuff. But I do expect something surprising. Like I do think there's going to be some form of surprise that no one's expecting. Kind of like what you mentioned earlier, Chris, like San Francisco, California Adventure, like that was the surprise of 2022. Came out of nowhere. Right. No one was expecting it. And when I'm looking at Walt Disney World now, like you have a major project, Magic Kingdom, you have a major project, Animal Kingdom, major things in the works of Hollywood Studios. Epcot is the only thing left at Walt Disney World that really needs more love. Test Track is a massive success. Everyone's loving it. But what do you do next? So I really hope that we get some sort of big surprise for Epcot. That'd be awesome. But I don't know. I just feel like they're going to lean really into kind of, hey, we talked about this. Well, now that the shovels are in the ground, we can talk more about it. And I can
see that because it feels like it's a common misconception with Destination D, because a lot of people think, okay, there is going to be a park segment in this, but it's not going to be a full-on all-day presentation kind of thing, like people that expect it from the bigger D23 event. Like that presentation, literally from start to finish, is all about parks when you go to that presentation. Where with Destination D, they started incorporating it slowly but surely, where they give off smaller announcements. But I think a lot of people tend to look at just the tunnel vision of saying, okay, well, we're going to get like these big announcements, coming from, and I don't think that's the case. We're going to get announcements. And I think we may even get, as you mentioned, Drew, maybe one big surprise that just kind of like throws everybody off. And then it leaves into more conversation for the next big D23. But I think, I think as far as my expectation of it is basically the updates of getting more information on cars, on villains, on Tropical Americas, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's I think D23, I don't know, because it's still not as big as, the Honda Center with all these A-list celebrities to where it's reaching, like D23 Expo reaches the mainstream because it's been set up to reach the mainstream for like 10 years now. Whereas a lot of people still don't know about Destination D23. Like, I don't think they even realize that this is a biannual thing and it goes back and forth from each coast. But part of me does think, because it's doubling in size this year, do they have something that they could do at the park's presentation to kind of get it on the map more? But like, we don't even have the schedule for this event yet, and we're recording this less than a month out. So part of that concerns me. Like, all they've confirmed is that there's like this concert to wrap up the thing, and there's no mention of any of these specific presentations. So part of me is terrified that there's not going to be a parks presentation, and that they're just going to drop like updates in individual panels with the Imagineers on those projects, maybe.
But interesting.
I don't know. I feel like you can't do that though when you're charging more money and when you're doubling in size. Like, the main thing that I was thinking going into D23 last year is that if you're charging way more money and you're putting this in an 11,000 seat Honda Center, well, you're naturally raising everyone's expectations by doing bigger and bolder things. And they delivered on that. And I feel like my mind's kind of going to something similar, but not as big, because it's just doubling in size, whereas D23 like expanded massively. But like, what do you do to make it worth it? You can't just sell more tickets and do it financially. Like, you have to do something with the actual event itself. And that's why I really hope we wake up here one day and we get the schedule and they're like, oh yeah, Josh tomorrow is, hosting a presentation. Because I don't know, I'm kind of concerned that we're less than a month out and we don't have those details yet. But we'll see.
That is interesting. Do you think that's because there's not a lot of details, that possibly there's not a lot of details that they're going to be giving us? Or do you think it's possible that they're still kind of deciding on what they want to announce? Or what do you think is going on with this?
I hope it's we need to figure out how long we want this presentation to be, because like, I looked back at 2023, and 2023 when like they first teased Encanto and Indiana Jones going to Animal Kingdom, like that was an hour and 15 minutes of not much at all. So they even had Josh tomorrow do a presentation then, and they didn't have much in their pocket at all. Now they have 14 rides in their pocket. So you could do an hour and a half long presentation if you wanted to, even if you're just sharing updates and doing a lot of kind of talking on stage, bringing those Imagineers out. I'd be okay with that. Like, I don't even need groundbreaking announcements. But again, my mind keeps going back to, you're doubling the size of the event. So if you're going to not do as much, even as you did before when it was just one little ballroom at Contemporary, well, what's the point of doubling it in size? What's the point of selling all those tickets if you're just having people fly out spending thousands of dollars to disappoint them? So, like I said, I really hope we get the announcement.
Do you think that the doubling of the size and adding more tickets was not necessary?
Oh, he froze. Yeah, he's frozen.
George, Elsa, no, Elsa, stop.
No, he's frozen. He'll be back. But I really want to hear more about this Indiana Jones re-theme of dinosaur. I'm very curious on how that's gonna.
George, you froze. Okay. You're back.
Are you back, George? Go ahead. Good. Yeah, you're back. Good. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Now, do you think that the doubling of the size and adding more tickets isn't just for the park's presentation, because there's more now attached to this, where, as you mentioned, they have like the 90s throwback concert that's going to involve like for a Goofy movie, and they did the Cusco-topia tickets for Typhoon Lagoon that's attached to this. And plus with all the other panels that I'm for sure that they'll have like for like historian presentations and with the Walt Disney Archives. So do you think that they're just having it on a bigger scale, just with everything combined, and maybe not necessarily just for parks presentation news?
Yeah, I hope that's the case, because I think that you need to give updates on those movies. Like, you could give a Toy Story 5 update here. You could talk about Fox you know, everything. Like I want that. But
Oswald.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could, again, if Disney really wants to put this on the map as a big event, well, you have to talk about everything company wide. It can't just be the parks. But I still think that because they're spending $30 billion on the parks right now, and the parks continue to be the company's most consistent profitability point, you have to talk about the parks. And I just feel like when everyone's so like in tune with expecting a massive presentation, even if you don't get those, you know, announcement level that we got last year, where it's like a little new land after new land every 10 minutes, that's only going to happen once every 10 years. I get that. But I just think there's something important about having Josh there and having the Imagineers there and getting everyone in one room where you're talking about everything, really pushing this investment. I do think there's something like mentally about that needs to happen. But without having that, it is concerning. But again, I was so wrong last year. Like I did a whole YouTube video talking about how concerned I was last year. I thought it was just going to be a giant concert. Like they were talking about it being a musical presentation. I was like, this is going to be horrible. And it turned out to be the best thing the company's ever done.
Well, we were worried.
So, all of us were.
When they brought out the Mad Tea Party group, and it was like 30 minutes of nothing but music. And I thought, oh dear God, like what are they doing?
We were sitting, well, I thought, okay, we have like a song or two. And it was like song 4, song 5. I'm like, okay, they're doing like a whole little concert here. Like, are they killing time? And that's why I was really getting nervous. And then when they got into the parks presentation, it was like just home run after home run after home run after home run. All these announcements, and that Deadpool thing was absolutely crushing it. Like it was literally one of the best park presentations I've ever seen. Like it was really, really, really good. So yeah, but we did a show together, all of us leading up to that. Like, oh no, they're making it look like a concert. They're gonna add all this music to fill the time because they're not gonna announce anything, you know.
And in a way, they kind of did do a concert, but the way that they did
perfect.
It intricate perfectly with the announcements.
But I was nervous too, man. I was like, oh no, they cannot afford to do this big Honda Center thing and not announce a ton of stuff. And they came through. And here's the other thing too. Now we don't know internally. They might have already decided who the next CEO is, and we just don't know. Josh might already have the job for all we know. You know what I'm saying? For all we know. But let's just assume that he doesn't know yet. Let's just assume that he's still running against Dana Walden, right? I mean, with this event coming up pretty soon, this is a good time to do another home run. I mean, just one more good headline for Josh Giamaro. He recently had the Abu Dhabi thing, which I understand. I respect the social concerns there. You know, for the LGBTQ community, all that stuff. I respect all of that. But I think in terms of like when you're dealing with the CEO and like the business part of it, it was a home run for him. You know what I'm saying? And so we had that, and he's getting a lot of wins, and he's really moved ahead. This could seal the deal for him if he gets up there and does another home run, another banger. If he Kendrick Lamar's this thing, he's gonna be the next CEO. I'm telling you.
You had to throw that in there. Right? You fit it in there perfectly.
I love my boy Kendrick, but go ahead, Drew.
And I fully agree, because I feel like you can't announce like 14 new rides and like 5 new lands without following it up a year after with the actual meat and potatoes of what those projects are. Like even to the point that Bruce Vaughn on that interview with Lou Mangello was talking about. You know, our fans will get attached to these early concepts, whereas our intention is kind of to show the direction we're headed in, not as what it's going to be. He even was saying how like scenes will get cut from rides and how these Imagineers will be crushed that it doesn't make the final product, but it still comes together in the end. And I'm like, wow, he's being very real right now, which I'm sure is happening behind the scenes, you know, because it is a company and there are budgets. But like you can't announce all those things and then a year later not do something big. So, and honestly, like what you said, George, kind of like how am I expecting details from the whole company? Like it's not like they haven't announced just the parks presentation, but we know they're doing an 1.5 hour long Walt Disney Studios presentation and an hour long like there's no details on anything except for this 80s concert. So the fact that nothing has been announced almost gives me that hope that they're just figuring everything out. But I feel like it's a little too late to be figuring everything out when you charge like $550 for prime seating and no one knows what they're going to be watching yet. Like I could pull up the map right now and there's nothing there.
I will say, like, I don't know 100%, but I think my closest predictions that I could say that they would announce would be, for me, is the 4th Wish class ship for Disney Cruise Line, which is part of the 4 new ships, but one of those ships is going to be part of the Wish class.
Like there's literally all they have are the concluding events for each day after the presentations are over. Like there's these 4 major blocks, and there's nothing there. So, like I said, not to cut you off and ruin your comment about the cruise ships, but like the fact that nothing has been said means that the parks haven't been skipped over. Like nothing has been talked about.
Nothing has been. Yeah. So like they're still trying to configure. So I would say like we would probably get the name of the new 4th class Wish ship. I would say, possibly maybe its destination of where it's going.
Plot twist: the name is the destination.
Maybe a couple features, of like on the ship itself. And then also with Epic Games, I think that's going to be a presentation all in itself.
Yeah.
Talking about Epic Games and then adding like, digitize, people's park going experience and doing it, through this format. I could definitely see that. But you also have to look too at the title theme of what this Destination D23 is, which is like around the world. So I feel like that we may even be getting maybe some extra things on Abu Dhabi, so I think usually when they kind of stick to a specific theme, that's usually how their take is on it. Cause I've been to several destinations in the past, and that's usually what they do is they'll kind of base the presentations off of what the overall theme is of what the event is called.
Well, around the world, is there any possibility? And I know this is kind of like a long shot, probably, but any chance that we get a maybe like a new Epcot pavilion for World Showcase announced?
I don't think it's a long shot at all, honestly, because I feel like, again, like I mentioned earlier, Epcot is the park that they kind of have to get back on its feet. Like the transformation had its wins, like Cosmic Rewind and Remy, but it still is far from where it needs to be. To the point that Hollywood Studios even wrapped up its reimagining and transformation with Runaway Railway, and here we are, and they're doing Monsters Inc. Land, Walt Disney Studios Courtyard, Muppets taking over Rock and Roller Coaster, The Mandalorian and Grogu on Smuggler's Run, and this is just a few years after. So that's why I feel like when people are talking about, Epcot's done, they already did the whole transformation, it got budget cut. Well, yes, at that time it got budget cut, but that doesn't mean that they can't start doing new things again now that they're pulling in the 3-time ROI.
Yeah.
Like,
and me personally, if they want to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, if they want to revitalize the Spain pavilion to come back and possibly dust off Gigantic for Disney animation, because I was actually very curious and optimistic about that film because we only got like 1 piece of concept art with it, but they even showcased it in Zootopia because it was part of the bootleg videos with the weasel out in the front. So it had like the knockoff. So if it was like Moana, he had Moana, he had Tangled, but it was titled as if it was like with Animal Cast, and Gigantic was one of them. So when they made Zootopia, they still had it in their mind that Gigantic was in production, but they canceled it.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think I don't know if I want to say that. I guess I'll say it because we're speculating. Why not?
Yeah.
This is the first year that I've ever felt Figment could be announced that I wouldn't be shocked. Like, people talk about, Scott Gustin posted this the other day, but the Monsters Inc. coaster was talked about for 17 years. No one expected it to be announced last year. No one expected Billy Crystal to walk out on stage and drop a Monsters Inc. Land announcement. Like, that was out of left field.
Well, that I knew. He texted me right before he walked on stage.
Okay, well, not everyone is George the Italiano. Okay, you got it. We're just rookies here. But like that came out of left field, so everyone's like, "Oh, well, people have been talking about Figment since before I was born." Almost like they could do it now. And I have a theory. I've never talked about this, but if you guys remember earlier this year when Bob Iger was like, "I've been asked so many times about Figment, so I'm going to tell our teams to look into making a short film." I firmly believe that was a staged question to get a reaction from the community to potentially greenlight a ride. I don't think there was any shareholder who asked Bob Iger that. I think that was Disney's PR team saying, "Mr. Iger, if you bring up Figment, this will cause a wave, and this will allow us to show you that we need to do something more with Figment. So I believe that was a staged question, and I posted about that. Scott Gustin posted about that. WWNT, Blog Mickey, WW Magic, everyone was immediately posting about that because Iger mentioned it and the CEO mentioning it. It's big. Like Bob Iger saying Figment, what? So I think that was Disney doing that. But if that leads to them actually doing something with Figment, whether it's a movie or a short film or Disney Plus series, if that allows them to turn Figment into an IP, well, that gives them the opportunity to do the ride because you connect it to film to ride, which would make the general Disney fan base aware of Figment as a character. I think that that's where everyone forgets, social media isn't reality. The general Disney fan doesn't know about Figment. And while Figment makes a ton of money from merchandise and is very popular amongst the fan base, I don't think they're going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in Figment without something else. Even to the point now where I feel like everyone was so excited within the community for Monsters Unchained. And I understand the Monsters Unchained has a very high capacity, but that ride's never above like a 20-minute wait.
Yeah.
Even when the park's busy, like Mario Kart and Harry Potter are getting the wait times because that's what the general family visiting Epic Universe knows. So while Monsters Unchained is my favorite ride at Epic Universe, a lot of people within the community's favorite ride, all the Horror Nights fans and the Universal fans, even Disney fans like myself, I feel like you have to do something more with Figment to give them the confidence to make Figment its own IP, if that makes sense. And now that they've done the meet and greet, now that they've talked about Figment, even to the point that someone that is very high up within Disney reposted something on LinkedIn that no one else has seen to this day besides myself. Saying we need it. Yeah, I'm not going to say the guy's name out of respect for him, but right after Bob Iger made that comment, there was someone on LinkedIn who said, I really hope we get a ride out of this. And he reposted it on LinkedIn. And I'm like, interesting, because he would have a say in this. And just like the fact that, again, Epcot doesn't have anything. So if you really wanted massive wins among all four parks and kind of talk about Walt Disney, I think Walt Disney World could do a whole campaign saying Walt Disney World has a whole new world in store for you, playing on we have a whole world of possibilities. Like Epcot's tagline never really went anywhere. The magic of possibility. Just change it to the magic of imagination or something with Figment. I don't know. And I feel like that'd be such an easy win amongst the fans to say, hey, we know you're sad about Muppets. We know you're sad about Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America. We know you've been asking for this for 20 years. So here's a new Figment ride. Or here's an early concept of what we're looking for. We'll follow up a year from now. I would not be shocked if that happens this year. Like this is genuinely like I said, the first year that I've ever had some sort of personal thought, my own thoughts that I could see Figment being announced, whether it's a blue sky concept or an actual piece of art.
Well, there's a lot of smoke here with it, right? You talked about Bob Iger's comment at the shareholder meeting. You talked about what the gentleman or the gal. We don't know who.
A guy on LinkedIn at Disney who has the same thing. So reposting someone's comment about a Figment ride. So I'm like,
exactly. So there's a lot of smoke here. It's possible. Yeah. Plus, you have to also take into account that Figment merch, like it moves. I mean, those popcorn buckets were like the thing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Disney notices that stuff. So that's a for sure thing that they take into account here. Also, I wouldn't be shocked too if one of the announcements has to do with Lilo and Stitch. That franchise has always been popular, but that movie recently just crossed $1 billion.
Crazy. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, this is I'll drop my hottest take. If I'm Disney, I know I'm gonna get. If I said this on Twitter, I'd get canceled. Only a Magic Kingdom, because it's the most visited park. I would close Jungle Cruise in the Treehouse and put a Moana roller coaster and a Lilo and Stitch attraction in that part of Magic Kingdom. I've never.
No, because here's the thing. I'm right there with you on that because I had mentioned this several shows back.
I'm trying to find the tweet one sec. But yeah, no, go ahead.
And Jungle Cruise came up, and I forget who I originally asked, and it was, how relevant do you see the Jungle Cruise? It is a classic. I get it. Walt's handprints is all on it, but for that big chunk of space, for that one attraction, that it is classic, but going down the road, not saying tomorrow, not saying next year, how relevant is it as of now, 15, 20, 30 years down? How much more is that ride going to hold up? I personally don't see it that way.
No, I agree. If I was Disney, I would, like I said, down the road, maybe 5-6 years from now, I would like the treehouse. The fact that the treehouse is right next to Jungle Cruise makes that whole plot of land even more valuable. I would do a successor to Jungle Cruise at Animal Kingdom, something better to kind of live on the Jungle Cruise name. But like you said, Jungle Cruise is very closely attached to the Walt Disney name. But you have it at Disneyland. I would never touch it at Disneyland. Kind of like how the Hall of Presidents is at Magic Kingdom, and that's the only essence of Walt Disney's dream, having a presidential attraction. I think the Hall of Presidents is untouchable. That's also a hot take. I know the political climate now with Trump and everything, people don't like to talk about it, which I can get. It's very, you say anything and people come after you. But again, the first thing that is said when the Hall of Presidents begins is this is dedicated to the life of Walt Disney and how Roy brought that to life at the park because he knew he wanted to do it, but he passed away. Like, Jungle Cruise to Disneyland is what the Hall of Presidents is to Magic Kingdom. Country Bear Jamboree is to Magic Kingdom, right? So even if you update the Hall of Presidents, I don't think you ever get rid of that. And honestly, I don't think it's a big enough space to get rid of it. Like, the Rivers of America is. Hall of Presidents is not. But I would do something over there with Lilo and Stitch and Moana, and then, like, holy crap, Magic Kingdom is stacked. And that's not even to talk about, like, the rumors of, I've been told already that they're already looking at retracting Space Mountain. So Space Mountain is going to be back on the board. And then you have Buzz Lightyear getting a refurbishment. And then you have the Space Across Monsters, Inc. laugh floor. And then you have Tron, which you can do things with the Tron canopy. I hope that they announce at D23 that Tron's canopy is going to go red in October for Tron Ares. Like, Magic Kingdom has potential to be almost the perfect theme park within 10 years, in my opinion, by cleaning it up, if that makes sense, by optimizing it. The word that I keep coming back to over the last year is optimization. Disney is optimizing their parks. Every single space is being optimized. Muppet Vision is not pulling in people, optimize it. Rock and Roller Coaster has a band that's problematic and we don't want to pay that licensing, optimize it. Rivers of America is underutilized in their eyes, not in my eyes, in their eyes, optimize it. Everything's being optimized. So only time will tell. But I truly think that 10 years from now, I think that by Magic Kingdom's 60th anniversary, when they do that whole diamond celebration, that it'll be the best castle park in the world. That's my expectation.
Now you had mentioned, like, with the Jungle Cruise. Now Tokyo is getting rid of their Jungle Cruise, and they're adding in Up. They're adding the Incredibles, and actually Up, I believe, was in the poster.
It is,
along with Lilo and Stitch. For Destination D. So I'm wondering if we're going to get more info, even though it is run by OLC, but it's still under Disney. So I still wonder if we'll get more news on, like, what is it of the Incredibles and Up that we'll be seeing at Tokyo.
Also, honestly, I would be, my expectation, I like where you're going. Like, as a fan, I want all that stuff to be talked about, but I feel like saving that, because, like, I remember when they announced Abu Dhabi that Josh Tomorrow and Iger were saying it takes 18 months to develop Abu Dhabi. Like, we're not going to know the final plans for Abu Dhabi.
18 years is how long it took to build Tron.
There you go.
We're not going to know for probably 2 years what the final plans are for Abu Dhabi. So I would expect it to take another year until those plans are really flushed out in Tokyo. Also, the fact that, well, I think this is awesome as we are domestic parks fans selfishly here. Daniel Ju, the lead creative of Tokyo, who was there for almost 14 years, is leading Disneyland now. So Tokyo Disneyland has a new creative talent, like a new leader. So I don't think we're going to get a lot of details on Tokyo Disneyland and Abu Dhabi till next year at the earliest. But I did pull up the thing about Bob Iger back from March 20th when I posted about Figment. This tweet got, when I was saying, like, the general fans need to beware of Figment, this tweet got 96,000 views. And, like, if my post on Twitter hit 100,000 views, like, that is a lot for me. I consider that a lot. So I think that's a good sign of Disney. Again, there's no guarantees that they staged this question. This is just me speculating. Right. If they were trying to make a wave, to make a point to the executives to greenlight a new Figment ride, and that is to be announced in the coming years, if not a month from now, those posts did make a solid dent. So I think it's there. And again, like I said, not to repeat myself 50 times like I love doing. I love repeating myself and drilling points in. But if you do something like a short film next to it at that little theater, or something on Disney Plus, put Figment in Fortnite. Make kids wear Figment. Like, it's done. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. No, well said. Well said. Now, do you think we're going to get the Encanto ride system at Destination D? You think
absolutely. That's going to be? I was told that we're getting, like, specific details on Encanto and Indiana Jones, like attraction names, like concept art, ride systems, like the set in stone details. But I wouldn't claim that as like inside info by any means, because they said last year that the planes are done. So I think that that's kind of like one of those easy things to say, oh yeah. I don't know what the names are going to be. Like my first thought was like Mirabelle's Casita Celebration, like with the two C's or something. Or like Indiana Jones and the Mythical Mayan Quest, like something fun.
Oh, like that's sick.
I don't know. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Maya, like something simple. Anything but adventure. No adventure, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would expect to know the names for the carousel, the hacienda, like all those things, because that's the first thing opening too. Like I think you kind of need to get that on the radar if people play the trips a few years out. I am more concerned that Encanto hasn't gone vertical yet. Like they started working very quickly, like you mentioned earlier, Chris. Like they broke ground within a week, but they're doing a lot of work on the ground, and I'm not seeing any steel yet. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert when it comes to construction by any means, because I know that they could get that show building up in a year and a half if they really wanted to. But I'm still not at the point in believing that they will. Like there still are things that I'm skeptical on, and it's that.
Do you think Monsters will go vertical before Encanto? And I say that only because, do you think it's because of a time management thing that it's going to take Monsters longer than Encanto, so it would start sooner?
I wouldn't be shocked if Monsters goes vertical before, simply because it's a flat parking lot and there's no work that needs to be done there. You just start building. Whereas it seems like this little retaining wall in the former Dinoland area has caused a lot of work to be done. Like Bio Reconstruct just posted those aerial photos the other day, and they were doing like a ton of work, like drilling a retaining wall in. And it seems like there's almost something that has to be done to keep that section of land to the left, kind of behind, to the side of the Nemo Theater, to where the queue line is going to be for Encanto, almost like some safety thing to like make sure it's all sound and structurally safe. But I don't know, like if we don't see vertical construction on Encanto by October, I'm going to be like, yeah, this ain't opening in 2027. Because like, again, like there are, like we've talked about a lot, you know, people don't necessarily address the positives and they're negative, but this is a situation where even me, I'm like, it's August. What have we done here? Like I'm looking at these pictures and I'm just seeing dirt being moved, and I'm like, I love seeing dirt being moved, but I want to see some.
At least Tomorrow kept his promise on that. He's moving dirt.
Yeah, I mean, we can call it the Encanto Simulator experience, and when you walk into the family and move dirt.
Now, Drew, I want to ask you: do you think, and not to get political, this isn't too political, but do you think that the steel thing has something to do with the tariff situation?
Yeah. No, and for what it's worth, I don't mind bringing up politics with you guys when it actually impacts the parks, because I firmly believe that your guys' viewer base has an open mind because of who you guys are as people. Like, if I were to go on a YouTube channel and their fan base is very against Disney, they're not going to like me. But your guys' viewers are probably more open to hearing my thoughts because of you guys and what your channel is, you know? Right. But yeah, I do think that these tariffs could have a play here. But again, at the same time, there's things that contradict even my own thoughts. Like they're moving up the closing date of the Boneyard from 2026 to September 1st. But to your point, could that be because they want to get the steel in faster to where they're not impacted by it? Could Coco going vertical faster in California slip under those tariff restrictions? And like even to the point that Bob Iger met with President Trump in the office and Disney's officials. You guys know Zach at Boardwalk Times. I don't know if you guys know him. You guys know Zach, right?
Oh yeah, we hung out with him.
Yeah, we were all together. Duh, I'm sorry. I was exhausted at D23. But yeah, Zach is, in my opinion, Zach is one of the best sites to follow because he's constantly discovering these under the radar stories, and these bigger accounts are stealing his work and no one realizes it. So if you guys are watching, please go follow Boardwalk Times. He is a great creator. Please go show him some love. But he even reported that Disney's officials went to the White House to meet with their officials about the whole AI thing. So Disney has met with White House officials, from Iger meeting with Trump to this whole AI thing with the intellectual property. And part of me wonders if they're trying to stay on Trump's good side to maybe get out of these tariffs. Like, hey, I think that this whole article that Disney dropped where they're talking about their impact on the economy might have been a behind-the-scenes pitch to the White House saying, hey, if you guys tariff us, we're not going to have this financial impact on the country anymore. Like, hey, we understand that you want things done in the U.S. Like, Trump very much wants things done in the U.S. manufacturing-wise. That's not a shock to anyone. But it's easier said than done. So I think Disney's angle is if you allow us to import these things from overseas, like these coaster ride systems or steel, whatever it might be, but we're going to have a positive impact on the economy by bringing in billions of dollars with our experiences and hiring more cast members. And Abu Dhabi hires more Imagineers, so it impacts our economy. Maybe that's Disney's route that they're taking to try to get away from these tariffs and maybe get an exemption from these tariffs. Again, I'm not an expert on construction. I'm not an expert on politics.
And to sweeten the pot, we fixed your audio animatronic.
which they did. I actually really enjoy the Hall of Presidents as a show. I think it's very well put together, talking about the history of the country and even highlighting recent events like Martin Luther King, and it has President Obama, and then it leads to, we see Joe Biden and Trump. Like, I like it a lot. I know a lot of people don't like the Hall of Presidents just because everything gets so politically
I think people divisive. I think people miss the bigger picture of what that show is really supposed to represent. Yeah. How far we came as a nation, like where we were, where we're at, where we're going. And it's like, look at everyone that contribute to it, where they just kind of have like a tunnel vision of like looking at today's economy, like what's going on. It's like, oh, blast this person on this side, blast this person on that side. It's like, you have to look at, just go in with an open mind and just look at the bigger picture with that.
Yeah, because right now I don't call our country the United States. I call them the divided states. Like, our country is very divided. Whether people want to realize, like, we are not living. I was watching a video on TikTok last night of this guy who moved to Japan and China. He moved to China to teach English, and like in the U.S., China is talked about how awful it is. Yet whenever I see people living in China, it looks a lot more technologically advanced, safer, and peaceful than here. Yep. But if you say that online, it doesn't fit the narrative, so you get attacked. Like, I understand that China has a lot of issues. Like, it's a communist country and there's slavery over there. Like, it's horrible. But when you look at the good sides of it, like, it has its benefits. And I feel like there's so much narrative in America that's pushed on us to say that America's the greatest of all time. And sure, America has an incredible history, and there's a lot of people that have done great things, like Martin Luther King, and even, George Washington is the first president and how he stepped down from power. Like, there's a lot of incredible things within our country, and I love our country, but it's not this perfect thing. Like, our economy is falling apart, and the political climate is so heated. And then you look over like China and Japan and South Korea, and everything is so far advanced, and their people are living in peace, and there's no wars and issues. And I'm just like, oh, if we could just. I wish the news actually talked about the real news that mattered. But again, I understand we're talking about Disney news here, not politics.
Well, no, but you're right though. There is a lot of propaganda with that, because I've heard the same thing. I've had friends who've gone to China, and they're like, "Well, I heard all this bad stuff." Like,
and then you go there, and it's not that.
It's not that, and it's like, I mean,
I think it's the same thing is happening with Abu Dhabi, but.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I talked about this once, but I don't know if people heard me say it. Whenever that Abu Dhabi park was announced, a lot of people were questioning why I was covering it. Like, oh, you're supporting this? And I'm like, again, I understand if people are concerned. I'm not going to speak for anyone. I just have my own thoughts. And I'm like, as a Disney theme park creator, I am going to cover this objectively, because that's what I do. Subjectively, because I'm excited for it. But again, I privately talked to people on my own who live in Abu Dhabi and who have visited Abu Dhabi, and they said that nothing within these tourist areas is what these people are saying on social media. Like, I talked to a couple who was at the opening event with the drone show. I used their video, and they followed me, and they're like, hey, we have no problem with you using the video. They're originally from America, and they live over there now, and they're like, yeah, we could never imagine going back to America because of how shitty it is. Like, here it's perfect. Like, everything's affordable, everyone's professional, everyone's nice, there's no crime, everything's clean. Even when my friends went out to SeaWorld in Abu Dhabi when it first opened, and he's like, I got an Uber, and the guy in the Uber was wearing a suit, and it was $5. The car was clean, it was affordable. I went to get like a cupcake at like a sweet shop, and they brought it out to me on like a golden plate, and it was like $2.
Dude, that's wild.
Well, yeah, you walk into Publix out here in Orlando, and it's like $8 for off-brand cereal. But we're told that that's acceptable. Like, no, like, it's just insane. I know that all of this started from me talking about steel, but
and a lot of people judge the fact of what like other countries are doing, but you can have your opinion, but can you really say it as a genuine fact unless you actually see it for yourself?
Exactly.
That's what I say about not even just with anything. I even say it to people talking about even the theme park community. They're bashing the Cars area. They're bashing.
Yeah, even Starlight recently. Like, people are like, Disney Starlight is so mid. I'm like, bro, this is a nighttime parade, and you're gonna judge it off a video in 720p quality with horrible lighting? Like, I have seen people watch like I don't know how to say this, but sometimes there are channels who will upload videos and they get lucky with the YouTube algorithm where it'll push it out and their video is shit. Like I think that my Starlight POV, the color comes across correctly to what you see in person. And my video is 3,000 views, but some have 60,000 views. But the people see the shitty video and they judge it off that. Whereas if you're going to judge it off a video, you have to watch the right video. And I think that that's my video and people who are using the correct cameras with the correct settings. And that's why I think that sometimes social media ruins the parks, because the first impression is ruined by a bad video or the way it's handled, like Tiana's, like Walt Disney. Well, then these things are designed in person, right?
Exactly. No, exactly. And here's the thing too, on top of the bad quality that people will come across, you also have a whole industry niche that hates the Mouse House.
Exactly.
So now you have people that get popular. Exactly. It gets all the money, all the AdSense, all the views. And now you have people talk about how crappy this thing is. And they have a vested interest in sort of spewing this Mouse House bad stuff. So that adds to the whole narrative. And I'm surprised Disney hasn't tried to kind of crack down on that a little bit. I mean, they've been pretty chill about it.
As much as I hate to say it, I think a lot of that is caused by them. And that's not a shot at anyone specifically at this company, because I know a lot of people in Disney's PR teams that have given me some incredible opportunities. I know that these are very cool people. Like, they genuinely give a crap about what they're doing. I literally applied last week for a job on Disney's social media team. Like, I don't have a problem saying that. Like, I want to go work with them. But the reason why I want to work with Disney and would be willing to give up my content temporarily is because I have that outsider viewpoint. And I think that it's very important to sometimes kind of craft your content, if that makes sense, around how it's going to be perceived, not what the reality is. For example, in my opinion, I don't think that the Walt Disney animatronic is anywhere near as bad as it looks on the video. 100%. I don't like how it turned out. Like, I am disappointed by the Walt animatronic, but I'm not going to go crap on it because it's not what people are making it out to be. But I don't think that the way that Disney handled it through their social media launch, through the first impression, which you only get one first impression, I don't think it was necessarily handled the right way to drop just all the videos on this thing and allow people to just jump on it, like knowing that it doesn't look one-to-one of Walt Disney because it's a robot. And you have to keep the motors cool, and you have to get all those motors to fit inside of his face and make it practically work in a figure. And I go back and forth on, well, if that's the case, then don't do it. And part of it is honoring Walt and just doing the best I can. Like, I'm very conflicted on. That's why I haven't talked about this Walt figure, is because I'm so conflicted on it. Part of me is okay with it. Part of me is not. And people were like, oh, Drew says the figure's fine, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I didn't really like it. But again, I think it comes back to even what we saw last year with Tiana's Value Adventure. Like, the Imagineers, I can say this now because it's been a year. The Imagineers on Tiana's told me they didn't know that POV was being posted. A project that they worked on for 4 years.
That's crazy.
Was shared for the first time ever. And they didn't know what was happening.
That's malpractice.
I don't like that. Yeah. So I do feel that Disney could greatly benefit from people on the outside who know how things are going to be perceived before they even happen, to stop that from happening. And that's something that I would love to do. Is, I know I'm only 22. I know I'm young. I know I have a lot to learn in my life, and I know I'm not an expert on everything. But I do know how deeply I think. I do know how creatively I think. And I know that I could at least help them with an outsider's perspective of how to maybe craft and stage these things to where it shows the actual reality, to where the perception is then real, not what is brought up or what's created, if that makes sense. I don't know. It makes me sad, though, when these Imagineers work on these things for so long, and there's just no way to do anything. Sometimes I feel like Disney can do no right, because even when you have these wins, they're not being talked about because it doesn't fit this Disney sucks narrative anymore.
Right.
So exactly. I feel like even if Disney, even with the changes they're doing right now, like even without the outsiders on that team, their team's doing a phenomenal job, like we talked about with Imagineering and Bruce Vaughn and Josh DeMario and the personal content from Imagineering to Parks. Like, they're doing a lot of really good things. We call it Imagineering. All these things. This is all new things, right? They're taking us on the journey with them. Even since that's been done, silence. So part of me even feels like even if they did even more, even if they did these things beyond what they're doing now, it wouldn't matter because it wouldn't fit the narrative.
No, I know there is a narrative out there, and it's a narrative that not only is a narrative, but it's a monetized narrative.
Yep.
There's a lot of vested interests in keeping that anger out there for this stuff, which is sad. You know, it's sad for the real fans that really just want to enjoy this stuff and praise and critique it in constructive ways. You know what I'm saying? But instead, you go onto YouTube, and the suggested page is a bunch of Bob Iger with red laser eyes.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
You know,
which I try to keep an open mind with them because I know that having a one-tracked mind is a very stupid thing to do. Yeah. Like, there's people that I follow on Twitter intentionally to see what they're saying, so I have both sides of the picture in my head.
Oh yeah,
I want to be that open-minded.
I actually watch channels like that. Yeah. All the time because I want to get that other perspective. I will watch this thing and I'll be like, oh my gosh, 99% of it I disagree with. Like, this is
me too.
No way.
Me too. But I'm at least watching it.
At least watch it. At least get that perspective. At least have that open mind. It's important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
I agree. It's I don't know. I could talk about that for hours, but I just think that perception is reality, and when the general public's perception isn't good, it doesn't necessarily matter how much good you're doing. You have to get that perception to shift, and they still haven't cracked that yet. I don't think that Epic Universe helped by any means because Universal was so good with their perception. Universal was so brilliant to not release their concept art until it was. I could talk about this for an hour, but everyone always says Universal's concept art matched the final product. Go Universal! Heck yeah, they're the best. It is not concept art once something is physically built. That is a final product translated to art form to create a positive narrative, which they did brilliantly. They did. I'm going to give them all the credit for it. But when I'm seeing people like saying, "Oh, Universal so much better because they deliver on their concept art," Disney could do the same thing. But do you want to go on this journey from green light to opening, or do you want to not know anything for years? And I would much rather have that early concept art. Those blue sky conversations, all this taking us from pitch
people
to
just
reality.
Can't get married to it, which they do all the time. They look at that piece of concept art and they're like, oh, this is what we're getting.
And the only reason we got any information on Epic Universe was thanks to BioReconstruct and Theme Park Wizard. You know, because they were really focusing on this part. But it's like Universal themselves were not talking about this stuff. They weren't releasing any information. We didn't know what any of these rides were going to be, right?
Yeah,
there's people out there that look at the concept art of the new Avatar that's coming to DCA. When it's finally built, they're going to say, "Where's the massive ocean that was supposed to be behind this thing?" Oh yeah, well we'll just wipe out the whole entire harbor and Catella, to put in an ocean for you.
Yeah, it's but again, I think that part of that's on Disney because they're well aware of the fact that the reaction is not good when they drop true concept art, where like it's literally being drawn as a concept. Like the Villains Land concept art is literal concept art. That is not going to look anything like the final product. It is setting a stage for how bold they are going and what the direction that they are headed in. That is it. They intentionally chose to release that art, whereas they could have just put a picture of villains standing in front of Cinderella Castle as their art. Like, I think that there are things that could be shifted to get this perception back on track, so to say, to get the fans loving things again. I don't know. I applaud Universal for doing what they did because when you're dropping a rendering of Frankenstein Manor, but it's not a rendering because the building's already 75% complete, these people aren't talking about those things. But part of me loves it, part of me hates it. I love it from a business perspective. I hate it from a fan's perspective, right?
Yeah. Universal, again, they don't tell you anything until 6 months before.
Yeah, like they're already ripping up the ground for the new coaster replacing Rip Red Rocket, right? Disney would have already released concept art and announced the name and announced when it's opening. Universal says it's closing through reply on Twitter.
That I find very fascinating. The fact that they have the back part of where Rip Ride Rocket is, it's completely leveled out. Yeah. So whatever is going to go there, they already know what's going there.
Yep.
And it's like they're just waiting for that coaster to close and then just rip it out, no pun intended, and basically put whatever they want to put in there.
Yeah, but again, like, and that's there is evidence of this happening in Universal and shifting to not doing it anymore. Look at the original concept for Mario Kart and look at the final product. The closest thing that I will ever compare Disney's current stance to Universal's old stance is the original concept art for Mario Kart, where the characters were driving alongside with you in physical form.
My cousin's husband worked on it.
Yeah, there you go. And that changed so much, right? If Universal still took that approach, Universal would be shit on, but they're not. Mm-hmm. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I hate how brilliant it is.
No, me too. It is brilliant. And Universal, in a lot of ways, has better PR marketing strategy than Disney. They absolutely know how to do it. Here's the other thing too, is they purposely, this was another smart move with Epic Universe. They were capping the attendance early on.
Yeah.
Smart, because if they didn't do that and it was low or light, what would the narrative be? Oh, well, nobody wants, like, no one cares about Epic Universe.
Come on, man.
Oh my God.
That is not what we got.
No.
Not
even close.
No,
not even close.
Every single thing you see in that screen, beside the ride vehicle itself, is a screen on the physical product in the final ride. If Disney did that now, they'd be cropped on, but it's Universal, so you're never going to see anyone talking about this because they stopped doing this.
Yes.
I think that in my opinion, the biggest issue with theme parks is the whole concept art debate. But even if I were to do an hour-long YouTube video on it, it might get 5,000 views. So it's like, is it really worth my time? I can't change the country's narrative.
No. But you do it. I would say do it, Drew, because, if the Drews of the world, the OT55s of the world, if we all do it, eventually it adds up. You know what I'm saying?
I really love when Bowser throws a green shell at me and the ride vehicle spins out. Oh, wait, that doesn't exist. He's on the screen because I got budget.
Because if it was up to me, an actual shell would have been thrown at us.
Yeah, you have a shell fly out of the wall on a stick, and then your vehicle spins out and it resets.
No. Forget the stick. I mean an actual shell, like, thrown at us.
Of course, you're the one to say something like that. That's a very George comment, but that's why we love George.
Exactly. But yeah, crazy stuff. But you're right. The double standard has driven me crazy for years. I've talked about it ad nauseum on this channel and on Twitter and all kinds of stuff. And you're right, Drew. You say it on Twitter, and it's like,
people put up a barrier when they say that, right?
Yeah, like 100%.
It's funny. Whenever I posted the fact sheet about Walt Disney's own words, saying that that's their most lifelike figure, people were telling me I needed to get my eyes checked because they're so stupid. They didn't realize I was repeating a fact sheet. Yet, whenever I posted last night that Josh D'Amaro was why Bruce Vaughn came back and Joe Rohde is back as an advisor, crickets. Silent. Oh. They won't cover it because it doesn't fit their narrative.
Exactly.
They'll come after me whenever they can. They'll jump on you. They'll attack you like prey. But whenever you say something that makes Disney look good, which is the reality, the ship is turning. The ship has turned. It takes time. Like you said earlier, it takes time to get that damage control back.
Right.
Like what we saw in the Chapix era. Crickets. I'll never see any of those channels talking about breaking news. Josh D'Amaro brings back Imagineers as advisors. Breaking news. Josh D'Amaro does this. Josh D'Amaro does that. Nope. Crickets. No. But whenever Elio doesn't perform well, attack it.
Yeah. Oh my God, Pixar flop again.
And the other day, whenever I posted that they crossed 3 billion at the worldwide box office, silence. Yeah. You don't hear anything. But they'll file a permit for Magic Kingdom and Cars, and they'll say, "Oh, Magic Kingdom's being ruined. Oh, blah, 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 blah."
And ruined, destroyed.
Walt's legacy gone. Next to 5.
God. Oh man. Fantastic. Absolutely. But Drew, it is always a good time having you on the show, brother. We love talking to you. We'll have you on very, very soon. We'll talk more shop. We have a lot of stuff coming up with the Destination D. So
yeah, we need to talk in early September because by then Boneyard will be closed, Animation Courtyard will be closed, and we'll have D23 by then. So I will be back in September.
Absolutely. Drew, if you can remind everybody where they could find you on social media, sir.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Drew the Disney Dude, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere. I'm doing more. So, and I'll be posting an absolute ton from D23 in person. Disney invited me, which I'm very grateful for. That's a combination of people supporting what I do and you know, me wanting to cover these things and kind of doing that. So I'll be fortunate to be there in person. Now we just gotta hope that there's actual things for me to type in all caps about, right, and click post.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, and here's the thing too, that actually is a big clue in itself, because
so,
you
too.
are a person that covers
news.
a lot of
Yeah.
parts. So for them to invite you,
Yeah.
you know, they want you to cover something. Now we just got to figure out what that something is.
I hope you are. Yeah, let me go to the invite. I don't even think that there's anything on this invite that like had any insight into what's going to be announced. It says this is a one-of-a-kind and multi-day fan experience. Will be the biggest ever, bringing together the most passionate Disney fans to celebrate what they love most from across the worlds of Disney. So that does confirm it's everything. But again, the name says a journey around the world of Disney. So there's nothing even in my invite email. But again, I mean, that's a good point, George. People, if you were to ask anyone what they associate me and Scott Gusson with, it's news. And I know Scott's going to be there, so
we'll see.
Hopefully that's a good sign. Hopefully we're diving into Figment concept art.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. George the Italiano, where can everybody find you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me right here on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you could also find me on my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There he is. All right, everybody, comment down below with all your opinions and comments about what we discussed today. Destination D, Imagineering's new approach, getting more personal, less corporate. We're talking Figment.
I just realized I have Spaceship Earth and Figment behind me. Interesting.
There you go.
Interesting. That maybe those are the Epcot surprises.
It's a sign. It's a sign. The law of attraction. We will manifest. There it is. There it is. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55, and until the next time, see you.
Don't forget to subscribe to OG55 and become a member today.